Might get ganked. Oh, that's nice of them. Ooh, in vain.
pennies, okay? This is serious money. And that's what he spent on a WWE mobile game. He tried to throw a little pity party over trolls annoying him about his absolute lack of concern with his money, but this time, pity was something very difficult to have. Phil was having some serious financial and professional trouble since the very beginning of the decade. There was no justification at any period in time for him to have spent that much on a mobile game. That is, unless some of his detractors, like Tevin, were right all along, and Phil's claims of being poor were to some degree an act. And he wasn't as worried about his money as he appeared on streams. In perhaps one of the best and funniest trolling campaigns done on him for the entirety of his career, trolls began paying for cameos from pro wrestlers to call out Phil on his mobile gaming addiction.
Hey, Phil Burnell, it's your Olympic hero Kurt Angle. And detractors have your number, buddy. I've seen the bank leaks. Jasper showed me your phone. We all know the WWE Champion's addiction is getting worse. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. And Cat deserves more than Burger King. And by the way, I'm watching you.
On top of a few other wrestling-related people and Ricky Berwick, we even get to see a familiar face chime in and give his very valuable 2 cents.
You're filing for bankruptcy, but the only reason you're filing for bankruptcy is because you dumped $40,000 into a game called WWE Champions. You stupid, dumb, ignorant motherfucker.
As you heard Mr. 445 himself say, as of January 2020, it was official. Phil declared bankruptcy due to being a whopping $500,000 in debt. Later on in the month, he made a video addressing it, explaining that $130K of it came from 15 different credit cards he'd maxed out, along with a multitude of loans, some of which dated back to when he was still a professional Street Fighter player. The rest was mostly made up of the mortgages he was failing to pay. As stupid as someone needs to be to put themselves in a situation like this, Phil put his business degree to good use when he decided that he'd rather owe money to credit card companies than owe it to the IRS. However, he wasn't savvy enough to stop himself from lying on his bankruptcy filing. As detractors scoured through it, they were quickly met with the claim that Phil had no pets, personal electronics, or collectibles, all of which were verifiably false. Additionally, his business expenses listed him as spending up to $9,000 a month on his streaming, something that seems unlikely to say the least. The general public immediately deduced that Phil was writing off the money he gambled away on WWE Champions as a business expense. This is why, when someone files for bankruptcy, that's followed by a hearing, which trolls made sure to get access to. While we don't have video of it happening, the audio track is available online for anyone to peruse.
Dude, the level... Was that rare? The extent at which people were willing to seriously just... basically take on a full-time job investigating this guy just because they didn't fucking like him. I mean, he does suck, but good lord, can you imagine doing all that work, like going through paperwork of, you know, bankruptcy filings and tax, like any kind of tax reports and shit they could get a hold of. They were forming coalitions and like groups to try and destroy his life. It's insane, dude.
During the hearing, Phil misconstrued a question about his purchase of a subscription to the WWE Network channel as if it were related to his purchases in WWE Champions. Soon, a detractor somehow managed to sneak their way in and pose as a creditor, only to press Phil on his business expenses. The unnamed detractor asked for Phil to itemize his business expenses, meaning to lay them out one by one, which was something that Phil couldn't do without revealing his Champions addiction. However, the detractor was caught, as his claim to be a representative of Citibank was scrutinized. Later on, another troll joined the call and began playing clips of DSP playing Dark Souls, which amused everyone present.
Why am I poisoned? Why am I toxic?
Sheffield, do you have the identification information with you?
Despite attempts to derail Phil's defense, in May of 2020, Phil's bankruptcy went through, and $130,000 of his debt was defaulted as his credit plummeted into non-existence. While talking about his mangled credit score, he mentions that he's waiting until his credit gets better so that he can take out more loans. Again, what he means here is that he wants to transfer his debt from owing taxes to the federal government to owing money to creditors. While this is a smart thing to do in this situation, it's obvious that as soon as he gets his hands on surplus surplus money, it's going to go to one of his addictions or needlessly
You're gonna
expensive
go to fucking
hobbies.
WWE
And it's not even mentioning
champions.
the fact that Phil is approaching his 40s right now, and eventually he'll simply be too old to work and will effectively be thrown into the wood chipper that is the infinite debt cycle he locked himself into. At this point, Phil was entirely financially dependent on the donations of a group of people affectionately dubbed whales by his detractors. Just a few of DSP's watchers were responsible for most of the money donated to him. One man in particular, who went by King Tut, donated thousands by himself. Appearing suddenly in August 2017, Tut wasn't an old-time fan of DSPs, meaning he wasn't one of these stragglers from pre-lolcow DSP era who felt some parasocial affection for the man. So it's really hard to deduce why he decided out of nowhere to dump as much money as he did into Phil's black hole of debt. Being as much of a pay pig as Tut was had his benefits, so he could get away with pretty much anything, from being toxic in chat and insulting other viewers, all the way to trying to control Phil's streams altogether. While the pay pig privilege lasted for a good few months, eventually it did get to the point where the mods decided Tut had to go. Once he was banned, he became furious and demanded that Phil refund all the donations he'd ever made. This attempt at getting a refund was neglected by Phil, and Tut proceeded to file a fraud claim on PayPal to get his money back. The thing is, PayPal is so broken that this attempt actually posed a serious threat to Phil's entire operation. According to Phil, this was Tut's plan all along, and he was a secret detractor, so much so that he supposedly made appearances to DSP Hater podcast after the chargeback, claiming that he got all of his money back and screwed Phil over.
Ecosystem
Phil's story, however,
dude. A DSP, he has podcasts around him. He's got the Sons of Kojima. He's got the Kojima World Order. He's got fucking, like, that's crazy. It's like the kind of people, like, you know, when someone becomes a brand and they just start, you know, spinning up different companies and everything. It's like that, but instead of him being, like, he's at the center of it all, but instead of him, like, being the brand that's spawning it for everyone to make money off of it, it's like the inverse. It's all siphoning from him. It's just horrible, dude. Like, you feel, it's one of those things where it's like fucking, well, no one's like Chris Chan, but it's kind of like Chris Chan, where you keep bouncing between, like, man, it really is crazy the amount of shit this guy goes through. But then, you know, 2 minutes goes by and you're like, man, this guy really sucks and deserves all of it. And then you just bounce back and forth.
is that he successfully kept all the money and Tut's PayPal shenanigans floundered, but there's no way to know who's telling the truth in this situation. But while Tut's case is a clearer-cut situation, there's another case where Phil took out some of his anger at one of his mods, despite the latter not really deserving it. Swaggins, another one of DSP's whale followers, gave a tip to Phil on how to beat one of the bosses in the Resident Evil 2 remakes, only for Phil to misconstrue it, blame him, and lash out. As a result of this outburst, Swaggins proceeded to deliberately unban a detractor to spite Phil. In a stream of Sekiro that took place soon after, Swaggins found himself extremely annoyed when Phil relapsed back to his old ways of complaining about a game when it wasn't easy enough for him to play it successfully. But DSP, having none of it, said, "I'm at a time in my life where I don't have time to deal with it. Swaggins is just mad that he told me to do something wrong during Resident Evil 2 and got blown up for it. Then that I plain don't like the combat in Sekiro, and he's so hurt by that. So he was a fair weather friend who wanted to mod when I agree with him, but as soon as there's a major disagreement, don't talk about it to me at all, but instead freak out and leave. That is kitty stuff, and I'm far beyond it, to the point where I'm not having a second John Rambo situation, so he can just get out and stay out. That is literally what happened with Rambo all over again. Nope, I'm done with that crap." Swaggins also had a response in order. "Stupid kitty stuff. As you say all the time, the world isn't black and white. To think it's just because of Sekiro is asinine. I've given so much, spent so much time trying to help moderation, only to be shown disrespect from Resident Evil 2 to now. All the excuses, the I did nothing wrong mentality, and general toxicity have driven me away, and I no longer wish to be a part of it. You say all the time that you're open to the opinions of others, but when it doesn't align with yours, you dismiss it and proceed to shit all over it. Sekiro is an example of that. My time is valued elsewhere. Twitch should be a place to escape problems, not listen to someone else's. The amount of money talk has been such a turn-off and will not help with long-term growth. Many have contacted me questioning whether or not you're even telling the truth at this point, and generally say that they're tired of all the taxes talk. I'm talking about actual fans here, not detractors. I tell them that we can only take your word about it at the end of the day." Not much later, Swaggins lost his mod privileges is, and as yet another DSP fan died, a detractor was born and took another moderator with him. Eventually, Swaggins did return to DSP streams after a hiatus, but his hefty donations did not come back with him. Despite all of the financial troubles threatening his livelihood, Phil would soon find a new outlet, in a saga so perplexing and coincidental that it inadvertently ushered in a DSP renaissance, all thanks to a vest. While reacting to an old DSP video from October 2011, fans demanded that Phil wear the vest he was wearing in it, and he conceded. Upon a cursory investigation of his wardrobe, he found it and put it on. For a moment, fans and detractors alike united to be perplexed by the vest, to the point that when Phil wasn't wearing it during a stream, they asked where it was. Phil, seeing the success of the vest, along with his cowboy hat, stopped counting Twitch bits and tips towards his goals and instead encouraged users to donate directly to his PayPal, which allowed him to get the money instantly and without splitting the revenue with Twitch. He started monetizing the vest as much as he could, setting it as a reward if he hit a specific amount he wanted to get. The vest became a daily occurrence, and people began counting how many days Phil reached his goal of $100 consecutively in a brief period dubbed the vest streak. This lasted for a strong 29 days. Unfortunately, disaster struck, and Phil came down with an ear infection that made him unable to stream. To notify his fans, he said, "All bad news. I've come down with a bad..."
That's a dev key gift right there. Oh wow, she sold some valuable stuff while I was gone. Ooh, gotta get that axe out. Oh shit. Got a sword too. Didn't even notice. Whoa, that's crazy. Adds 4 fire damage to your weapon attacks. That's actually really good for paladin, because I think your seals, like I think Seal of Righteousness and Seal of Wisdom can proc off of that. Wait, is there... No, I guess they don't have a forge here.
Ear infection causing excruciating pain. I can't stream when it feels like I have a knife in my ear. I'll update everyone later today on how I'm doing. Sorry, I've had it for days but didn't say a word about it, hoping it would just go away. It did not. It got horribly worse. While this seems inoffensive on its face, the actual disaster came as a consequence of that ear infection. From responding mean-spiritedly to someone on Twitch that presumed that the ear infection had healed a day later, to being extremely defensive and gratuitously engaging in back and forths on Twitter over the authenticity of this infection, Phil was giving people reason to doubt his whole story. Meanwhile, detractors were pointing out that hiding his ailments was something Phil had never done up until now, and that he continued to stream while wearing headphones without ever mentioning that he had an ear infection to his audience, despite having no reason to keep it a secret whatsoever. Regardless, despite the debate as to whether this lack of stream constituted a break in the vest streak, Phil continued to do the vest gimmick, eventually hitting a milestone of 73 days with the vest. This meant DSP earned...
Dude, what is this story? There's a group of people keeping, like, sitting there like, yeah, I don't really think, we gotta investigate whether he really had that ear infection. And was he wearing the vest? You know what I mean? What the fuck, dude? Who cares? This is
earned
insane.
at least $100 every day for over 2 months. On the 73rd, he miscalculated the tips by $9 and came dangerously close to not hitting the goal and breaking the streak. But, lo and behold, it still stood. The vest streak bravely marched forward onto the 100-day mark, which Phil referred to as the Vestival. He also revealed that if another goal was hit, he would put on yet another hideous vest, this one a shiny silver, which he dubbed Platinum DSP. The streak raged on for another 50 days.
DSP, dude. Oh my god, this guy, he's one of a fucking kind, that's for sure. That's the thing about lolcows, like, I understand why people get so frustrated with them, because they are annoying to listen to. But there is something special, dude. Like, there's something special with this guy. You can just take one look at him and tell he's not normal, right?
Or finally, DSP mentions that it was starting to become a lot harder to hit the tips goal and to put on the accursed DSP vest. This was a few weeks after Phil was hit by PayPal with $800 worth of chargebacks, so as you can imagine, he got a little desperate. At this point, Phil's scheme was becoming irkingly transparent. There were times when the vest streak business overtook the stream entirely, with Phil coming close to guilt-tripping his audience about the streak potentially ending. When it started out extremely...
I mean, alright, well, I will say this. Imagine being able to put on a vest and make a few $100. We're making fun of this guy? He just puts on a vest, $500 appears? What? Shit, I'll wear a fucking
positive,
vest.
the vest is being absorbed into the general dark cloud of DSP's debt mongering.
I'll wear two.
More time goes by, and as DSP was approaching the 200 mark, an anonymous user would DMCA strike DSP's Twitch account, suspending him off the platform temporarily and pushing him onto YouTube. Eventually, he resolved the issue with Twitch and returned to celebrate day 200 of the streak. When the time came, Phil said that only now, with the vest's aid, was he able to start sleeping soundly at night without worrying about his unpaid bills. From his point of view, everything was on a turnaround for him. By day 250, he starts talking about buying a PS5 with the money. No matter how much things seem to turn around, Phil continues to be Phil, this time wearing a valet uniform. For some reason, it was only after 276 days that the streak came to an end, as Phil streamed himself playing Paper Mario.
Let me get this right. So the streak was every day he had to reach how much?
Where it was. Phil, seeing the success of the vest, along with his cowboy hat, stopped counting Twitch bits and tips towards his goals and instead encouraged users to donate directly to his PayPal, which allowed him to get the money instantly and without splitting the revenue with Twitch. He started monetizing the vest as much as he could, setting it as a reward if he hit a specific amount he wanted to get. The vest became a daily occurrence, and people began counting how many days Phil reached his goal of $100 consecutively in a
$100. So he got $100 a day for 276 days. I mean, that's not bad. You know? That's what, $27,000? Am I right there? Am I missing? Am I 276 times 100, right? 276, yeah. $27,600 for wearing a fucking vest. I don't know, this guy might have the key to life stashed away somewhere. He might have it all figured out.
Brief period dubbed the vest streak. This lasted for a strong 29 days. Unfortunately, disaster struck, and Phil came down with an ear infection that made him unable to stream. To notify his fans, he said, "All bad news. I've come..." Big pivot from bills and back taxes to a tremendous amount of things around here, pretty much confirmed for much of his following that he didn't change even a bit in regards to how he handled his money. Phil's online inner circle would be rocked when a mod named Anonymous leaked the logs and chats of his private server uploaded onto YouTube in early 2021. Anonymous, who had worked alongside Phil for years, would concede it was time to join the dark side, removing himself as a moderator of Phil's Twitch midstream, but not without changing the title of the stream to DSP Doxed Pew Dubs before he did so as a parting shot.
Phil doxed PW Dubs? No, I didn't. I've never doxed anyone.
As you heard, Phil claimed he had never doxed anyone. However, documented history tells quite a different story.
Oh, by the way, I have your IP, I have your name, and I have your address. So, congratulations, you fucked up.
Anonymous's leaks didn't do much damage to Phil's reputation.
It's literally
because it was
doxing.
already destroyed beyond repair, partly because there wasn't a lot of incriminating stuff in there that the detractors didn't already.
That's not doxing. That's threatening that you could dox. So, I guess technically, Phil's still on top here. He's still in the green. He's good.
Know about. Anonymous eventually revealed the reason he turned on Phil, saying the greatest tactic in Phil's playbook is to characterize his critics as evil, malicious, and mentally ill trolls seeking attention. When he made me a moderator in October of 2017, I was a mod for 1 day before he removed me. A troll started insulting me for being gay, which I don't mind. They escalated it to mocking me for something that happened during my childhood, telling me that's why I'm gay, and called me a P word. I timed them out.
Why would you even let people online know about this stuff? not your orientation, but like something like that happening in your past, never tell people on the fucking internet about that. Are you are you nuts? Good God. What do you expect them to say about it? Like, you hate to see it. It's a real shame. You hate to see people make that mistake. Because when people get on the internet, they're not people while they're on the internet. You know what I mean? They're just like beings. They're like the elves in Lord of the Rings when they die. Instead of turning into beings of pure light, they turn into beings of pure hate and pettiness and just, you know, being douchebags in general. That's just like, they just embody that. They're just a spirit of trolling.
For the rest of the stream, Phil was bombarded with emails complaining about me being a bad mod. He panicked, threw me under the bus, talked poorly about me behind my back to the troll, and removed me hastily. I emailed him and let him know what happened. His response was that he believed me fully, and I was still absolutely in the wrong. He reprimanded me because he felt I had no reason to ever tell anyone that I was abused, and that I have to keep that to myself. He refused to restore my mod status and gave me the same treatment he tried to give his whales. He tried to dangle it over my head.
Well, see, yeah, I mean, the only part of that I agree with is telling them that it's not a good idea to let people know that. I wouldn't say it as like oh, well, if they say something, then it's your fault. Phil, obviously, he can't, he's not an eloquent speaker. He can't, like, convey that thought in a way that is not abrasive and obnoxious and just the worst way of saying it. Maybe his heart was in the right place and he was really trying to say, like, hey, you shouldn't tell people online this kind of thing because they will say horrible stuff about it and it's just gonna, you know, it's just gonna blow up on you to mention that. So you probably should just only mention that to people you know, not to the whole chat or whatever. And maybe it just came out like that. The whole rest of it, obviously, is indefensible, but it's Phil, so.
As it turns out, the mod Discord server was just the tip of the iceberg, as Anonymous released a plethora of information that was previously unknown. The user mentioned in the title that Mouse put on Phil's stream, probably along with many others, was asked by Phil to provide their personal information in order to get unbanned. I'm almost legally obliged to say, no matter how dedicated a troll you are, why on God's green earth would you give your personal information to anybody to get unbanned from a Twitch chat? I mean, unless you're a kid, I can't imagine that being a reasonable decision. Phil went directly to the private moderator Discord server and desperately tried to establish what had happened while he was live streaming. Because of the trolling today, I ventured onto the farms. Someone there has posted us impersonating at Anani, who insists it's not him. They're saying they're going to post definitive proof that is somehow going to incriminate me, but haven't been that specific. They think it will be evidence that this Discord exists, although that doesn't actually prove anything. They are somehow convinced themselves, insanely, that as long as I'm using Discord in some capacity, that somehow everything they've made up about me in the last year and a half is true. They are hinging all this on the belief that I had a falling out with @Anani based on his Twitch suspension, which of course isn't true. They think I demodded and banned him from the channel, lol. So whoever this is apparently impersonating him to get me to think it's him and get rid of him. Soon it dawned on Phil that he was being fooled, and Mouse was indeed the leaker. He proceeded to confront him in the server. @AnaniMouse, are you still sitting on detractor streams talking about me? Because they are saying this is your YouTube handle that you just created, and I'd like to know what gives. Like, I'm giving you a huge benefit of the doubt here, but I'm hearing from every possible direction that you're actually trying to cause drama for me. They are also saying that both Anonymous and @KingGoken talk to people behind the scenes and both confirm this Discord exists. Not that it matters, that leaked a year ago, but somehow they think it's news. Is it all an impersonation? And are we actually talking about this Discord server outside of here? I was under the impression we all want this thing kept secret so they can't try to harass us. So why the hell is it becoming public knowledge? Phil tried to defend himself and explain that the information TWOW sent to him was to prove that his account was the real one to ward off impersonators. That would be a convincing defense, were it not for the fact that Phil had previously bragged about having people's doxes multiple times. The one thing that did sap some of the steam off of Mouse's expose were the accusations of heinous stuff, meaning pedophilia and zoophilia. Even in the DSP video, I cannot seem to...
Dude, why in the fuck is it always that? Why are there so many people? Like, good God, dude. Every time. Anytime I'm watching a video like this, it always happens. It's always, well, and then there was allegations, and it... Jesus. I feel like it's like, what is it? They Live. I feel like if you were to go out there and put those sunglasses on, but it just showed PDFs to you, it's like half the people out there, their faces would be the skulls, you know what I'm talking about?
To rid myself of these people. When asked why he was following zoo accounts, Mouse replied that he was doing it to see their tweets and
Zoo accounts. Why are we talking about that like that's a thing that should be, like, that's allowed to exist? Like it's just a term? Like it's just, oh yeah, it's just a zoo account. It's a fucking what?
befriend them, the same reason he follows everyone. He added, "Bruh, I'm a furry. We buy and sell exact replicas of animal genitalia. While I certainly don't F animals, I'm not above speaking with people who do." Members of the Kiwi Farms would not take kindly to the revelations regarding Anonymouse's supposed predilections. Anonymouse is into zoo stuff and likes stuff like this. Make fun of this stuff what you lot will. I told you ages ago he should be told to F off. He's an adult, and he's following this teenager that claims he wants to F animals. Are we really going to ignore this, but poke fun at our Canadian Coomer? Our side really isn't any better than Phil's. We are far worse. Reprobates like this adult.
Yeah, Phil ain't never done no shit like that. Tell you that right now. Well, that he's, I mean, well, no, if he even, like, it would definitely be out there. You know, there's teams of people following his every move. So Phil ain't never went down a road like that. That's, ugh.
Man taking pictures of himself in a full diaper, wanting to F fur babies, and a zoophile are the people that detractors look up to. His attempts to apologize for what he describes as tantamounts to deliberately telling teens that zoophilia is okay weren't heeded by members who believed it totally insufficient for the extent of his actions. People pointed out that first, he lied about knowingly interacting with minors about this kind of stuff on Twitter. Then when an example was brought up, he acted like that was the only time it ever happened. The chips were stacking against Anonymous at a very fast rate, and today, he too has his own dedicated page on the Kiwi Farms. Eventually, Mouse reappeared to try and justify his actions, saying the following.
How?
"I'm sorry for returning. The point of going away for the prior month was to reflect and start getting help. It's hard to make it clear how deeply I regret my actions without fixating on how it'll be perceived. Whether wording it the wrong way will sound disingenuous or make it sound like I'm downplaying everything or turning it into an emotionally manipulative pity party by oversharing my issues, etc. I'm absolutely disgusted with myself. It's pathetic trying to hang on like this. I'm sorry for everything I've been called out over. I should have done that first and foremost. This false confidence in my return is blatantly motivated by a desire to save face. I deleted my other accounts that deprived me of access to my terminally online life and forced me to get help because I knew I couldn't resist coming back to either chase clout or lolcows for cheap ego boosts. Clearly, you can't delete your account on Kiwi Farms. My only other option is changing my password to a randomized string and logging off forever." And so he did, as his account has been inactive since mid-2022. A 55-page leak of a conversation between Anonymous and a user called Pamperchew came out in August of 2022 and quickly was archived by users seeking to preserve evidence of the two's abhorrent conversations with a vast quantity.
Dude, that, I know 4chan was rough. I was there. Like, you know, 2004, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But this Kiwi Farms place sounds like fucking hell, dude. It sounds like it's just a bunch of demons running around that bitch. Ew.
Quantity of screenshots provided. And I'll let you guess as to the quality of discourse in such a document. Meanwhile, despite having triumphantly served this upheaval, Phil was facing yet another threat to his livelihood. Twitch terminated his partnership, and soon...
You know, it feels alright in my book. Like, when you see the extent of what he could be like those people, you know what I mean? So, good on you, Phil, for just wearing your vests and eating fast food and everything. Like, that's an alright guy in my book, you know what I'm saying? He could be a whole lot worse.
his entire account was set to be closed permanently. In an emergency video uploaded to YouTube, Phil demanded an apology from Twitch regarding their treatment of him, despite detractors pointing out that the partnership allowed Twitch to ban users for any reason at any time. Honestly, even though that may be the case, I still feel bad for Phil either way. If it was up to me, his Twitch would not be banned. The official reason was that Phil had allegedly said a hateful slur at one point during a stream. While Phil reacted to the partnership termination in a pretty angry way, bringing up US law as if it had any relevance to the situation, Twitch eventually decided to lift his channel suspension and acknowledge that he was wrongfully penalized. However, he had a grudge against Twitch and was already in the process of moving his operation over to YouTube. Funnily enough, in May of 2021, despite refuting the allegations of hateful language in his content, Phil almost certainly dropped the gamer word on accident during another stream. Later that year, over the course of a few weeks in September, hackers were able to socially engineer Bank of America to give them access to Phil's bank statements by using public info of his that was available, and the findings were intriguing to say the least. Over the course of the better part of 2 years, Phil spent approximately $190,485. Of that nearly $200,000, $3,000 went to alcohol, $6,000 was spent on restaurants and takeout, $11,000 on groceries, $26,000 on taxes, $33,000 on mortgage payments, and last but not least, $45,000 on microtransactions.
Dude, on fucking WWE Legends, man. Holy shit.
Not only including WWE champions, but PayPal
or
and
champions,
iTunes.
whatever.
It appears that the detractors, and most prominently Tevin, were right all along, and Phil aggressively played up his financial tightness to get more donations, while he spent it on stupid garbage constantly. When Phil did address it, he didn't actually. He just claimed he suffered identity theft, which is actually true, and purposefully left the rest of the details as vague as he could, as to not raise attention to the glaring fact that perhaps the most damning piece of information on him ever was now public. Now comes the end of 2021, and Phil decides to make some changes to his content. First and foremost, the biggest change would be dropping the King of Hate moniker that had defined his career, appearing on merchandise, his own forums, and even his vlogging channel that he'd also retired on the 3rd of January in a video titled, "Goodbye, this channel is retired. Head to DSP Gaming and thank you for 10 awesome years of vlogging." Today, the channel does remain online, but only as an archive. However, Phil's attempts at rebranding would do nothing to curb the nearly 2-decade legacy of the moniker, and more widely his online reputation. A critique that underlined this decision of rebranding was that Phil only did it after he got the attention of Moist Critical, despite Charlie saying the same things many people had said before, that Phil guilt-tripped viewers over money and branded himself on begging. Phil took the opportunity to do a Boogie 2988 and performatively embrace the criticism to look better. Unfortunately, Phil then suffered another series of copyright strikes on his channel, DSP Gaming, after a detractor, Dayglow Hour, posed as a professional video editor, creating various intros and bumpers for Phil to use before his streams, only to then claim them once they were in enough uploads. Just a couple of weeks later, however, the strikes were cleared and his channel was back to its original state. Attempts to mess with Phil's income didn't stop there, however. In September of 2022, a user named MusicMouse7 tweeted to Stream Elements, the company who manages Phil's tips, linking them to a 13-year-old clip where DSP makes a pretty bold statement.
But I hate the...
So began the chain of events that ultimately led to Phil's termination from Stream Elements. Phil took to Twitter to message the company, telling them his tips page became a 404 and asked if it's all related to mass reporting that took place regarding the TF2 incident. Following day, Phil opened up a link directly to PayPal for all stream donations, and now he has to manually manage his PayPal account and the donations sent, further unable to have automatic animation pop-ups. He also has to play these himself. Phil also instituted a brand new policy, adding the disclaimer, "No refunds," to his account. Despite attempts by trolls to report the account, Phil continues to use it to this day. In addition to taking this L, it seems DSP was breaking his promise to not play WWE champions anymore.
The quality of the video is a little poor, but if you are familiar with the game, you can make out what is on Phil's phone. This is the Brawl feature within the WWE Champions application game.
The rest of Phil's 2022 wasn't anything new. He raged, e-begged, and guilt-tripped his audience over lack of donations while playing Elden Ring, called his audience bigoted when they made fun of a conspicuously feminine Halloween costume of Ken from Street Fighter, among other charismatic and lovable activities. The most recent major situation in Phil's career started with a podcast called Side Scrollers. This particular episode of the show starred online personality Adam Krigler and creator of the Screw Attack Stack video game network, Craig Skitzimus, otherwise known by his online pseudonym Stuttering Craig, and they'd be interviewing the one and only Philip Burnell. As he always does given the opportunity, Phil used this time to defend himself against the accusations of detractors, and like every previous instance of it, it didn't go that well. Some of Phil's shortcomings in the PR department were very familiar, such as him essentially admitting that he gave his viewers no value back for what they donated to him. However, some were novel. During the stream, the topic of WWE champions came up, and Phil instantly became a nervous wreck. The interviewers seemed familiar with it and effectively pressed him on the topic, eventually circling in for the kill and telling Phil that if he wanted to, he could prove that the WWE Champions account that he had spent tens of thousands of dollars on the game wasn't his. All he had to do was show his account to a neutral third party that could verify his claims to fans and detractors alike. But Phil was not open to doing so and preferred to stick with his theory that a detractor of his spent that money just to frame him and incriminate him, which further solidified his guilt.
You have my email, and this is a small ask. It's also a big ask. You can say whatever you want. Will you, and you can say no, and I'm totally fine with this, but just confidentially between us, will you send me a screenshot of your account, of your WWE account, and just so I personally, I will not share your name to anybody, but just between us.
I don't know who that guy is, but I'm gonna say just like off, if that guy is at all like a drama tuber, fuck no, I wouldn't give him anything. So, I wouldn't say, if he refuses, I wouldn't say that that's, oh, he's obviously guilty then, or whatever. No, you don't send your shit to people that you don't completely trust. And if this guy's a drama tuber, don't send him your personal information.
Man, I have to think about
and vouch for you.
Yeah, and I will vouch for you either way.
I have to think about what kind of risk that. I don't want to say. Here's the thing, I'll consider it, but I can't agree to it yet. I have to see exactly what's the risk.
Another topic covered during the podcast was DSP's interactions with Keemstar, the official side character of every lolcow story, apparently. He has to pop up. Keem had recently decided to move past
that's
Phil's
what he
drama
does.
with him
That's
over
his
the coverage
job,
of the incident
basically.
from a couple of years prior to make him an offer. A total of $50,000 to join the lolcow podcast alongside Wings of Redemption and Boogie 2988.
I got a brilliant idea. Why don't I take the three of you, put you on a podcast, we will call it the Lolcow Podcast.
In an extremely unfortunate turn of events, Phil turned it down on principle and sought to make his thoughts clear on the matter during the Side Scrollers episode.
This was some kind of like a big project he wanted to be involved in. I don't know exactly what. Let me explain. So he says, well, I don't want to talk about it in a DM. We got to have a phone call. I'm like, okay, that's reasonable, right? Let's have a phone call.
Did it. Damn. Yeah, I was concerned because, ooh. Yeah, their news isn't loading. They might have got hit hard. I was worried because I had power outages earlier and stuff, so I was just worried that it was going to be something else. This house, dude, power's always going out, internet's going out, so. Yeah, it looks like their login server's down. Let's see if their website's down. Oh, shit. Yeah. Well, that sucks. You're just grinding, trying to get your first 60. How close are you to 60? At least I can go to sleep early today. Yeah, sometimes game going down forces you to make better life choices, I guess. $56 about an hour ago? Yay. That's a day or two. You'll be there. Oh, nice, dude. You're zooming. Yeah, looks like we're down hard now.
Here's my number. Here's when to call me. I'm available at these times of the day. Okay? I wait, the call never comes. It's been like 2 days, the call never comes. Maybe he's not serious about it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in this guy's head. All of a sudden, I'm on streams. He starts calling me when I'm on streams. I'm like, is he, I don't know what's going on again. So I DM him after the fact. I'm like, hey, you want to, so basically, it's like stupid telephone.
Still used to leveling tanks made. Oh yeah, dude. Rogue compare. If you're used to leveling like warriors and stuff, now Prop Pally can move pretty fast if you're AOE farming. But compared to warriors and everything, man, or even feral druid and stuff, Rogue's fast.
Phone tag. The guy won't even contact me to talk about what he wants to offer me when I'm available.
Review Tech USA chimed in with a $50 donation to the stream saying, Phil, nobody cares about your history with Keemstar. Why are you above a 50K sign-on bonus for a podcast, but will ask for tips for groceries the next day? It makes no sense. Viewers began to speculate that the real reason was actually that Phil didn't need the money as much as he pretended he did. Eventually, Keem himself joined the podcast and the two went at it for an hour or so, getting very little resolved in the process. The aftermath of the stream resulted in only more derision between Phil and the members of the Side-Scrollers. The day after the now infamous interview, the group uploaded a discussion called Dark Side.
I wouldn't
Phil
want to do nothing with Keemstar either, honestly.
The episode went. Due to them being honest about what they thought of Phil's responses to the more pressing questions, such as the WWE Champions fiasco, the discussion prompted him to say they betrayed him and describe the podcast negatively. While he addressed the aftermath video, he made the mistake of mentioning Keemstar in a negative light, which prompted Keem to chime in again. In a tweet, Keem reiterated that DSP was no longer being considered for the LOLCal podcast due to his inability to answer important emails in a timely manner. In another instance, Keem said, I have set up interviews with DSP's family and friends. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Apparently, unlike him, they like money. Keep in mind, DSP totally unprovoked talks ill about me when I was retiring. I barely...
Do you see what I'm talking? Like, they're like, why wouldn't he work with this guy for 50? And then he's like, this guy stopped responding to me, so I'm going to talk to his family. Like, why would you want someone that's... I wouldn't want to be in business with somebody like that.
Even knew him, and he doesn't know me. After that, he was hurting for money, so I offered him $50K for a podcast job, and he disrespected me again. After that, I had a peaceful chat with him on Side-Scroller's pod that settled the beef. 24 hours later, he was talking smack about me again. After that, he tried to steal my podcast idea. So I don't want to hear that I'm harassing him. I'm simply responding. When Keemstar announced he'd arranged interviews with...
No, making the message is, like, writing that message, that's responding. Going for dirty laundry, trying to pay his family and friends, that's not responding, dude. That, I don't know.
Members of Phil's family, DSP responded saying he did.
The fuck's wrong with people? I don't know if that delusional where they just think that they're really right in what they're doing, or if they're just, if it's 100% bullshit and they know they're bullshitting. Because to me, it's like there's no way you think that you're actually right.
didn't care since he had
or
no
think
contact
that what
with
you're
any of
doing
his
is
family
right.
besides his parents. So Keem would get biased information from people only interested in the money. During one of his periodic lamentations, Phil mentions having developed severe trust issues and having an inability to have friends, but he blames trolls for this instead of blaming himself.
It's hard for me to trust anyone. You wanna know why? Because so many people have kind of screwed me over time. People who swear to me, don't worry, we're in it for the best of intentions, and you know, we're here to do this or that, and you know, then what happens, right? And it's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, fool me 77 times, right?
On June 24th, 2023, DSP celebrated his 15th anniversary of being a content creator on YouTube. 15 years, 64,000 videos on the DSP gaming channel alone, countless hours of live streaming, half a lifetime's worth of subpar content. It's hard to even believe it got to this point. Unlike other lolcows who have one or two gigantic character flaws that are like genuinely just making them unfit for society in general, DSP is kind of a different beast. He has no particularly grievous offense towards other people. Instead, he has an unending series of small offenses he has no interest.
That's, I mean, it's just kind of sucks, you know what I mean? Like, everyone knows that guy that just, he's not the worst guy. He doesn't, like, do anything malicious and terrible. He just kind of sucks, you know?
And taking accountability for. He's not extraordinary whatsoever, and that's precisely the appeal.
Damn,
Disliking him isn't a race, it's a fucking marathon. His detractors will willingly sit through his content slop just to bask in how underwhelming it is. Every little self-serving lie, every e-beg, every insult to the audience, it adds up to the phenomenon known as pignosis, the inability to fully stop following what Phil is up to. DSP is like McDonald's, where you know you're getting a bland, kind of soggy experience, but every once in a while, you just find yourself coming back, okay? He's a low-skill, menial job worker.
I don't know why I hate
stumbled
watching
into being
people
a
take a bite
professional
of
content
butter and
creator
stuff.
and got addicted to it, and no matter how much negative attention or debt his attachment to his online personality incurs him, he keeps on going. Phil is not destined to be an online personality. He doesn't have the talent. He doesn't put in the effort.
We'll see with him. I don't know. With him, with Phil specifically, not with Keemstar and them. With Phil, it definitely seems like he's lacking somewhere, like mentally, or not mentally. Not like, I don't think he's like a stupid person or anything, but he's like, there's some social intelligence that some people just don't have. IQ 78. Hey, that.
Effort. He has no skills, and yet every single day he's struggling against fate itself by not giving up. He's a Let's Player who's bad at games. Took 3 years after
Doctors say I have an IQ of 78.
was already the norm
Years later,
doing direct capture, and has never hired an editor in his life. He doesn't behave responsibly in the face of negative consequences or his inability to manage his professional life whatsoever. He defaulted on over $100,000 worth of debt that he took out on credit cards so that he could pay his taxes, even though he knew his taxes were just going to continue to accrue, and he truly has no hope of paying them. But he simply does not stop. DSP is like Albert Camus's The Myth of Sisyphus. He doesn't have what it takes to perform his task, but he's going to continue trying regardless. The struggle itself toward being a content creator is enough to fill his heart for the time being.
He's been at it for 20 years. Good God. Alright, Defky. Thank you for stopping by, man. Alright. I guess I'm gonna sit here and just try to hope the server comes back. It's down bad right now, though. I haven't. It's been a while since I've seen like their website and just the whole thing go down. Ooh, forum is back up. Let's see. Ah, damn, no. Login server's still down. Alright, well. Guess I'm going to try to use this time to do something productive. And I may be back on later, depending on when it comes back. So, appreciate anybody stop by. See you guys later on this evening, or if not, then tomorrow. Peace.